Yeah, there's some horrendous ones of those that I've
Yeah.
seen, and I can't believe people sign up to that, man. That's the other thing that blows my mind is, oops, is when you see all surprised as to how horrific it is. Like, what on earth? Well, anyway, welcome to another episode of of the Operation Grow Show. Yeah, hey, got Magma on the show with us this evening. Hope everybody's doing good.
Cheers, cheers.
Doing good. Um, yeah, no, man, it's just been a busy week. Kind of nice that it's the weekend. Hopefully
Yeah, no,
everybody else
same
is doing
here.
good. Yeah, chat back to the stem. Yeah, so I was. What have I been up to? I not. I have a look. I think I look to see what's been going on. Got sent a video a while back by GMF actually for something called Codex. If these guys, I can't remember. I must find it again. I can post it up, which is like a genetics, not a genetics mapping. I would call it more. I haven't gone my whole way through the video, but I had a quick browse of the site, and it's what I would describe it as like pedigree description and lineage. So yeah, a lineage, a pedigree mapping, family tree of strains that they've been working out. Um, Very interesting. Worth going having a look. As I said, I'll find the link and send it because that's not particularly useful. Um,
Was it the producer as well as the variety, or just the variety name?
Let me actually find it. Uh, Talk amongst yourselves, why don't you? Right, let's Oh, it's the Breeder Syndicate. Um,
Okay.
it's Codex from the Breeder Syndicate. So let me actually grab that and just share it. I think this works. So I've only just had a quick brief little look at it. I like what it does. Yeah, so I guess I search for something, but I mean, you pick something. Um, Known children, a whole bunch of information about it, the breeders and keepers, I guess. And then they've got knowledge graph, uh, a graph, yeah, a knowledge graph of representing its lineage. So you can actually click on one of these, and it'll show you more about that one. Pretty cool. And then with something like ChemDog, when you go, just show me the immediate family, show me the extended family. I get like, okay, it's everything. Huge amount.
Oh wow, nice.
So yeah, I mean, it could be a particularly handy resource if you wanted to, obviously, yeah, find out more about the lineage of various strains. And they had their whole podcast was talking about. I think I haven't, as I said, I haven't gotten all the way through it yet, but they're discussing this and covering the other ones like what happened to Phylos, what happened to, and well, not what happened, well, it's what happened to Phylos, but what the other ones as well, pros and cons of them all, I guess. Uh,
Yeah, no, it's the right guy in the not so dog, isn't it?
um, I've only watched one, so I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, no, but I think so. But I've seen a few
Yeah,
episodes,
yeah,
so it's
it's
normally all good content.
yeah. From what I was watching so far, it's interesting. And they certainly like what is it's called. I mean, the channel is the Breeders Syndicate 2.0, 2.0.
So
That's the posted in. Not that they need help really. It's 7 point something. Um, yeah, can't fucking talk. Anyway, what's everybody in chat up to? So let me post this link. That's the one. Yeah.
Have you been doing any crop steering with watering?
Not me. No, I haven't been. I've actually just recently been harvesting all the chilies. That's been cool. Finding some.
Nice.
What's really interesting is to actually look through everything and go, hey, all of these had, I know, all crossed with the same parent. This hot lemon got crossed with 4 other strains, and seeing the offspring from those, yes, only one of them retained the yellow from the hot lemons of all
Oh,
those
wow.
chilies. All the others are like red, but you can all see the phenotypic expression of the hot lemon in its really just its structure, and obviously the bright color yellow
Yeah.
is being expressed in all of them, and they're going into the F2s now, so we're going to F3s coming up in this next run. And it'll be really cool to see if the yellow sticks or if suddenly a whole bunch of the yellow disappears of
Yeah.
that one plant. I need to collect a few pods of that because each pod could be different. But that's really interesting. And some of them, like one looks really gnarly, like it should have a lot of zinc, but it doesn't quite have it. So I'm thinking, hey, there's a chocolate habanero in the corner that is brutally hot. I mean, it's not Scorpion or Carolina Reaper hot, but it has got a good kick to it. Take that and cross it with these ones, bring in some of the heat, so that they look, that they live up to their look, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and it's fun to hear that there's such a wide variety within such a small gene pool.
Yeah, and they were crossed with, there were stable strains that were crossed to create the F1s. That these are all the F2 generations from now.
And have you found any dominance that was strong?
Well, across everything came up red. Otherwise, everything else came up red. For
Yeah.
example, and a dominant feature is this shape of the hot lemon is really expressed in all of them. You can see, if you know what you're looking for, it's like, okay, I can see that's got this in the lineage. And that's just how it seems to have panned out for these ones that I selected. In a couple, it's not quite as heavily expressed, but the actual like difference in shape was quite extreme as well between the two different peppers. Ones which was similar in like structure in terms of like they weren't these hard little round ones, because the hot lemons are quite a long straight pepper. So it's starting to actually show like a pointy bit coming off, which is kind of cool, which it didn't have beforehand. Um, so that's certainly something. And I think the yellow gene must be a recessive trait, which is interesting if it is, because then it got crossed with something else that was holding that recessive trait. And it also brought its citrus notes through. In fact, that appears in quite a few of them. This is speaking like you're talking growing weed, crossing weed. um, you know, everything that thing touched has a bit of a citrus ting to it, and then the yellow ones in particular are very distinctively like that, and it's got the hot lemon sort of flavor and smell to it. It does smell a bit like lemons.
And is there anything that you haven't seen come through that you were hoping to see?
No, actually, I mean, it's one of them. Maybe it's how much fruit they're putting out. Some of them aren't really like, don't seem to be very heavy producers, whereas others, like one or two of the others are. And you go, okay, can you you do another run, see if the next run it produces more, because now that's the trap. Yeah. Well, hang on. It's just this one. I mean, do a few more to double check that they're not producing a lot of fruit. But then the fruit that they do produce is really nice. So it's that trade-off. Volume over variety. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like the chocolate habanero is just bountiful with fruit, and a couple of others which were actually seeds just taken from commercial peppers that arrived in our meal things and whatnot. Grow those out. They're heavy producers. You can see, okay, that's why you grow these, because they produce a lot of fruit.
Yeah.
Let's see. More yellow, maybe. I wish there wasn't such a lag between the video and live. It's like, okay, which bit of yellow was that? But yeah, that's the yeah, that's been good fun. And the agave cactuses, they're doing really well actually. It's throwing out all these plants, throwing out pups. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have so many of these things in the not too distant future. They're just breeding. So that's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, no, they create all these quite large patches when they grow in the wild.
Mm, mm. And then that's gonna be a prickly greenhouse. I'm gonna have to cull some of them at that point, or give them away. Say it with flowers. Yes,
You know, they get really large.
yeah.
I guess if they have enough watering and everything too, it helps.
Mm.
I know mine has a lot of water and they grow like crazy.
Well, that's the idea. But yeah, I mean, they're saying like an 8-year plan. I think we're a year to a 7-year plan now. We're a year into the 8-year plan for one of them. Uh,
Yeah, and is it gonna flower, you think?
um, I have no idea. I don't necessarily want it to flower for the purpose of harvesting it to make
Yeah,
mezcal from.
you don't need
Mm,
the flower.
no, no.
Okay.
So that's the. I have to cross that bridge when I come to it. Right. Okay. Now what do I do? What's step number 2?
Yeah, no, it looks really like a really strange tree when it comes up.
Like asparagus, because they're related. That
Yeah,
spiral,
like
that
a
flower
dinosaur
spiral.
tree almost.
Yeah.
It looks like prehistoric when you see it in the landscape.
Yeah. Contact.
And is there any agave production in England?
Of agave spirits.
Yeah, that they grow in the UK.
No. Global warming hasn't quite kicked in. I don't mean global change. I mean warming for this neck of the woods, because I'm nasty feeling it's going to go the other way. For them to grow in the wild, yeah. But I mean, it has gotten better. These last couple of years, you start looking at the local land, going, turn that into a field of agaves.
No, could be. If they could be moved in for the winter, maybe.
Yep, undercover. They did. I mean, they lasted out. These ones went to the last winter that got really cold here. I say, okay, relative for us, really cold for a 10-day stretch, and that they didn't quite like, but they all, I think, bar 2 little ones, all survived it, which I was quite surprised. And
And you
they
heat
all
the
stayed
greenhouse in
outside.
the winter?
Yeah, but I don't need to. They're all go down to like -5. These plants will survive to -5. It's just that it went down a bit lower than that and stayed at that for quite some time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, that's I forget the name of the strain, but that's particularly why I also bought it, because it survives well over here. Hmm.
And when you collect seeds of chilies that haven't been cross-pollinated on purpose? Do you see strong stability, or do you see variety there too?
No, I tell you what, all like the, yeah, all the seeds I've harvested from the plants that said, this is what it is, and then just random pods that I haven't, to select when I've done the harvest of them. The next generation's been exactly the same. There's been no
No
variation.
difference. Yeah.
I mean, it's if you accident, if you unlike, because they're all in the greenhouse and they do pollinate each other at a rate of knots. So there is every potential, yes, that I do pick a fruit that from a cross pollination. So I get strict, take multiple fruits. It's like I can only grow so many in the greenhouse, and I'm already growing too many.
And do you think that like certain flavors and tastes get selected away because they're maybe not that clear, maybe, and obvious? So you have like this loss of some of the genetic diversity that might more people would appreciate.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's very similar to, yeah, it's that same end goal of what growing weed for as well. Flavor, taste, etc. But in doing so, you are picking things that specifically have what you're looking for. That you do get ones you go, no, that doesn't taste good. It's got no flavor to it at all. And others you go, okay, that's you can genuinely taste the difference.
But do you think that sometimes let's say like orange tasting weed, for me it can be like a really bad thing, or it can be a good thing depending on what direction of orange it's in. Almost like if it's a amaranth bitter orange or if it's a sweet orange.
Yeah. I mean, you get ones that are that just don't taste particularly. No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, like
because I feel like I see a lot of that with a lot of weed, that there's like this orange taste that keeps getting selected, and it is like the Jack Herer used to be like that back in the days. You'd buy seeds, and the Jack Herer taste would be in the seeds of any variety it was crossed with, and it would dominate completely. And it's almost like it's like this with the orange weed, and maybe it's the same, with the chili, that there's like these certain dominant flavors that they're selecting, maybe like you say, because of the yield, and then other, or just easy to find, that maybe the other varieties are more difficult to find really good ones and clear.
I think it's the same thing is happening. It's that what people are growing, like hobby growers of chilies, and growing like these chocolate habaneros and doing these little crazy experiments of crossing things, because you're going, oh, I like the flavor of that and I like the flavor of that. Let's bring these two together. It's the same as what's going on in any plant breeding world, and there's a lot of correlation in terms of the ease of it and how polluted the chili pool is, so to speak, with nobody's quite sure what it is because they just cross pollinate at a whimsy. They just got to look at each other to do it.
And is there a lot of international chili breeders? How would you compare it to the cannabis scene?
I wouldn't think it's quite as big as the cannabis, well, not in that in that sort of same respect. But if you go and have a look, I mean, there's always a chili fest going on somewhere. And it's not the same stuff that you buy generally in the supermarket, the mass produced chilies. So the little,
yeah, no, I just saw a video about it actually, and it seems like most of the chilies are made like mostly water or vinegar, if that's like the first ingredient on the bottle, and quite few were made with actual different chilies.
But just in cuisine and everything, I mean, it depends where you are. And I look at Mexico, look at the variety you get there. That's a whole different ballgame because
Yeah.
it's so much more of the culture. Thailand, Asia, places like that, you get such a wide variety there again. So certainly in terms of, what people are fans of in the same respect as compared to the weed culture, you have your regional favorites that people will argue about as which one is better than the other, which one's the hottest, etc., etc. Yeah, this one burns. It does. It really does. um,
But do you think chili seeds had its like tulip days also? Like the back in the days, the tulips was like a crazy price, and then the whole market just crashed.
yeah,
People were like
although,
trading houses for tulips.
yeah, I think, but this is a commodity that's consumed. That's actually like part of your cuisine, dietary one, not just flowers that rot. So I actually see there's more and more demand for them. People's palates are getting more into spiced foods. Well, not say
But
spiced,
do you think that the breeders are doing it for profit or for passion mostly?
there's a huge crowd that do it more for the passion than anything else. They try to come up with the craziest colored chili peppers. But you get some wild colors on some of them, and the fruit and the shape and everything like that as well. It's very like Tasmanian devil. No, well, in terms of collecting pollen, same way. I just I just use my finger when well, actually, no, when I'm specifically doing it, I just usually go around and just bump all of them. But otherwise, you pick the way I do it is you pick the timing of one. The female part matures first on this one, so like on whichever plant it is, you go and find a flower with where it's the male bit's matured on that. So you've got pollen. You strip away all of the everything you don't want on the receiving end, whichever way. Pollinate it. God, I'm speaking terribly. Long week. Um, and then I just put a little bag over it or something, like a piece of wire over it, just to help mark which one it is on this tree of back in pods all of a sudden. It's like, I could find this one later on again. Fairly rudimentary. That's just me doing it.
Yeah, no, it looks really nice to do it on the chilies.
You can use a paintbrush as well. That works very well. Or earbud. But it's
Yeah,
kind
no,
of targeted when you're doing the breeding
the
because
airbud
it's
looked
male and
nice.
female. Sorry, go.
No, the earbuds look really nice to use. I use that too.
Yeah. Because the catch with these are, unlike cannabis, which is male or female, with these self-pollinate, they self-pollinate. So the different parts of the flower mature just slightly different times to try and avoid as much
Yeah, you try to
pollinating
remove it,
itself as
no?
possible. And so that's why you can pick. Oh, hang on, pick a pick and choose the ones particular flowers you want to pollinate.
Yeah.
Is early on in their growth cycle as well, before the place just gets flooded with pollen from all the different plants, and then it becomes a bit of hit and miss. You might not get it what you were looking for.
Yeah, no, definitely. Do you think there's
Mm-hmm.
a reason why, like let's say in the UK you have a big company producing cannabis, and in Amsterdam too, there's a big pharmaceutical company that was producing medicinal cannabis for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's strange that they haven't been able to produce like varieties that are outliers in the market today that everybody else look to? Of innovation, within breeding? Because I feel like many times when you hear about some of the bigger companies, it seems like the focus and the effort maybe hasn't been able to produce the results.
Sure. Um, oh, dude. Uh, I got a new bottle of mezcal earlier. That's what I'm going to blame it on. That's the story I'm sticking with, officer. But the thing is, all the big mass producers are doing it for, like, Nando's has, probably Nando's has its own chili farms where they've developed their own particular, like, version of a common chili.
Yeah, and do you think that's
found
like a top quality?
a line that they wouldn't say it's the best, but it's got the stability of the flavor that they need for when they make the big batches of chili sauce, etc. So there's no,
Yeah.
they need the consistency. They're trying to make sure they don't have the variety of it. But you get those chili farms where it's rows and rows of different chilies being grown as well. But the market is probably, the big growers are all doing more like mono chili grows.
Yeah.
That's definitely, well, I mean, I can't say it for certain. I mean, that, it's the commercial option.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, mostly what they're going to be doing there.
Yeah, and also like let's say you mass produce this sauce. Maybe your own demand to how good it should taste gets lowered as well because you have to create so much.
So just like in the cannabis side of things, you've got, all the little mom and pop places doing it, people growing it all over the place themselves, chilies, and they're growing far more interesting bits and pieces. Yeah, the small holding size crowd who supplying the local little restaurants with interesting chilies. The catch is a lot of them have this problem with they get hot and interesting. I mean, it's like, oh, how much THC is in it? It's chase the heat does become a thing, which starts to eliminate a lot of other people from joining in. If you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah, it's like it's a little different being handed something. I don't know. The reaction when you bite into something that's 6 million Scoville units hot and taking your first dab. I don't really know which experience is more entertaining for everybody else to watch.
Yeah, no, and it depends if you enjoy that kind of rush,
Yeah, they're both going to be a rush. It's just slightly different.
That was like the good thing in the beginning when people started dabbing, to see how big of a dab you could give your friend.
Yeah.
If they would pass out or not.
Do you want it orange hot or red hot?
Oh, red hot.
Yeah. Yeah. And then don't forget to grab it,
Yeah.
to pull out the bowl.
Yeah. No.
So much fun.
Pull out the nail and just hold it.
Yeah.
That's not the mouthpiece.
Then you remember.
Oh yeah, everyone has some like scar from back in those days, whether it's physical or emotional. There's some, like, everyone has their own scar. Yeah.
Of all being
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember.
Like
I haven't been to a show in a while, like an event, but when we still had, like, they could do the dab stations around.
Oof.
Oh man, I would just like walk around, boom there, dollar tip, just so the people are standing around the whole time. And you're fucking done in an hour. Yeah, those were the days. If I was to bring back anything, it'd be that. I think the last event I went to was 17. Yeah, back in 2017. Been a while.
Yeah.
Definitely need to incorporate that.
When you hear like a crowd of people coughing out. That's where you know where to go.
And then you do that in
Yeah,
Europe, and at one of these things is they've got all these dab stations, and it's all just CBD dabs because that's all they
Oh.
can do. It's like, hang on.
basically like, oh, if you need a place to come down, you know, there you go. Instant kill,
It's
like high
three,
kill.
two, one. Huh. Smells like it.
That's
tastes
when
like
you
it,
have
where is
to. That's when you have to have some extra stickers.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. They've got some. I don't know what's necessarily happening with the laws over there on that side of things now. I know
Oh.
Germany's doing some interesting stuff.
Yeah,
There is
I heard
potential that
Portugal too is working
Yeah.
on
So hopefully more of the
legalization effort.
EU goes.
And Holland, they also putting up an initiative for it
Yeah.
to
I
get
So
it.
think
if more of the
Germany,
EU goes, then hopefully that'll put more pressure on us as well. Because yeah, come on, man, people to the left, people to the right, they've all fucking pretty much legalized this
dude,
shit.
those
What is wrong with
treaties
you?
were made on my side. The
Yeah.
US set the standard, and then like they were like, well, if you want to make money and trade, this is part of the trade agreement. So if it has to change anywhere, it has to change here. Otherwise, everyone's gonna be like, oh, but they're not gonna, you know, just for whether it's still we still have any bargaining power in that or not.
Yeah.
There, it needs to be here so everyone can be like, oh, well, they canceled the treaty, so and they're the ones that started it. And I
That's the
kind of
funny
feel
thing
like
with that.
that's yeah.
That
Otherwise,
needs
it's
to
just
happen.
slow chipping away,
Mm,
like
mm.
Germany, Portugal, just like we were all saying. Like they're looking at us too, and like, hey, you're saying we can't, but you're giving individual states, you know, you're turning the blind eye to the states. That's in your
Yeah.
jurisdiction, and you're not doing anything.
But that's where it's the same as Germany, Portugal, Spain, Holland that are doing it. That's exactly the same as in Europe and your US states doing it independently because each state has its own laws. So they can the country has its own laws, so they can still do what they want in their own country.
That's just how it should be in general. I mean,
So Belgium
they're
and France are
still
going to bitch and moan that people are trafficking weed through them from. No, man, I live in Spain and I'm just driving back from Amsterdam. It's legal where I live.
if it's
Too
not one
good
thing, it's
excuse.
another, you know.
I'm sure that's the excuse that's
They
been
always
used
got
used a
something to
few
say.
times. Hmm.
Oh, you're changing the what was it? Like the retirement age was changed from 65 to 67. Boom.
Yeah.
They riots.
Oh yeah.
Riots. Not gonna lie.
Uh,
So there's always gonna be something, dude. There's always gonna be something. And guess what? I never planned. Like I'm probably gonna be working till like 75, 80. So for those people, like, yeah. I mean, if you want
retarded before retired.
yeah, yeah, I'm probably never gonna retire. If I
Oh
do
yeah, no.
things right, you know, how if things work out, I should say, not do things right. If things work out to where I'd like it, uh, have some land, do some stuff on my land, not too different from you, Magma.
You know,
And is it
sounds like
really
a plan.
working? Yeah, is it really working after that? Then if you're too old to move stuff, then you just make sure that you moving enough of whatever you're trying to work with and hire the right people. Hire young people that are hungry, that want to learn. That's my plan.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see. We'll see how
So,
interested everyone is in all of
so where is
this.
the where's the cheapest farmland in the States?
In my state right now, like, and if I didn't want to go too far from where I live, I'm in Orange County. The cheapest place I would either go south to San Diego, more inland San Diego. That's around like I could get a couple acres for like 500K, but not that many acres.
And where
Um,
does it rain well in what
I
states
would
does
say
it rain good in and have a moderate climate
so.
where you
Most eastern places, by me on the Pacific Northwest side, just anywhere Northern California and up, it's gonna rain plenty. And now that you mention that,
So that would be
Actually,
good for growing like big lots of fruit trees to find like the one new peach or plum or whatever you want to look for, you know.
yeah, I definitely have been really interested in
Like a more
fruit.
passive project, you know, where you put it, you
Yeah,
plant
I'm
it, and then
curious about
you
land,
can grow
definitely.
it, and where you don't need irrigation.
Yeah,
Because I
the
think
nice
that's
thing,
it.
hmm,
That's
the nice
interesting
thing
with
about
that kind of land.
California is it has clay. We have clay here. So just take advantage of that, do dry farming, and that's where I really see it like making a difference. So doesn't
But
matter.
do,
Oh,
but do you
yeah.
think that like with let's say the temperature increases, and you have more dry seasons than you can fix, are there like varieties that would be good to work on in that region, or are there other regions that are more fit for like for doing those kind of projects where you're more free, you
Yeah,
know, you don't rely on like, oh, suddenly they say you have to cut off the water, you know, for this time because we're having a shortage, and we're like down in South America now, you know, they can't even fill the Panama Canal. And
yeah,
you can
with
and I
that,
think they're paying like 5 million just to get ahead in the line and get sent through. So you can
wow.
imagine, you know, water make people crazy.
Well, water wars, man. Like this, oh, we'll see what happens there. All we can do is plan for, just like you were saying, we need to remind ourselves wherever we go, it's going to change. It's going to change from where it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even to where it is a year, like in this year. So yeah, I like what you're thinking. Be mindful of where you're getting, but it's always going to change. Like
Yeah,
with
and you
the,
don't need to live, you know, on a breeding farm because the land you live on could be just like for your small homestead, and then the big breeding farm could be like on a cheaper land per acre with maybe
yeah,
more water resources and stuff like that, because that's like the definite approach that I would uh, like. My farm is really water reliant, you know,
oh,
and
of course.
I can't drill a well, so it's like a reality check, especially with the climate, that the best trees to choose now, you know, are the trees that don't really struggle and can
The
go
resistant ones.
strong and
Yeah.
maybe establish themselves on their own.
Yeah, the problem is like the crops that we go for are so water reliant. Avocados disgustingly use so much water. You can make it work a little better if you just add organic matter, which is what a lot of farms are just missing organic matter.
Yeah,
You know,
and
in
shade trees
shade.
definitely, like plant twice as many shade trees as you do your avocados and do nitrogen fixers, and
Yeah,
like that's a big move too. And then palm trees and stuff like that that many times survive, and other trees that you can see surviving in the local scenery.
yeah, we have local. Luckily, we have at least one palm tree in California that's actually native. The rest are all
Do you
brought
have
here from. Hmm?
you have junipers?
Yes, we do. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
So we
those are
can incorporate
pretty
that as well.
hardy.
Yeah, they are. Those leaves really. I like the formation of them, like their ecological function, like how it helps save water and even the sap itself, and it collects water as well from the morning sea mist, that ocean, how's it called? It's just like a blanket of fog that comes in, the marine layer. Yeah,
You know,
that's what
those
it's.
those are the trees that I think are the oldest ones around here. Junipers.
Yeah, I believe they grow from they spore. Some of the really old trees had spores. Like it's crazy.
And have you
Especially if
been
you've got
to
a really nice
the
sketch.
Have you been to the fruit farm of the big fruit breeding company in your area? We were talking
No,
about earlier.
Zager.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really want to go. I mean, if I ever had to work for anyone, it would be them. And
and where would you have to buy land to get land that size cheap at this time? What
ooh,
state?
man,
Alaska?
Alaska or like the what's it called? Like the middle of America, basically. Those states. You could
In the
get
top?
like, yeah, more top middle.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
you can get like 200 acres for like under $200,000.
So those are like ideal spots to have big breeding projects
Those are
for your
ideal in
trees.
terms of price. I don't know about like, because those are like, you're gonna have a freeze.
Yeah, so you need
So
something hardy, maybe maybe apples.
yeah, that would be a good one. That or you have like um, you have special greenhouses where you do your main work in,
Yeah.
and then you grow out just the stuff where you're like really incorporating more numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I would do it. I would try to not use greenhouses as much as possible, but there's things you can't ignore, like propagation, like actually bringing up the tree. How are you getting these trees? Are you doing it yourself? Are you making sure that all of those numbers, the thousands of
Seeds
numbers,
should be seed run, huh? That's at least
if
what
you
I've been thinking as like my
can,
second thoughts from buying a farm. That next time if I buy a farm for like doing more of a breeding project, definitely
Hmm.
just buy some place cheap with a lot of space and enough rain.
Yeah, that's why I've been considering, we were talking about different places. Northern California right now, there's a lot of failed cannabis farms that they just like, okay, we're out, we're taking whatever money we can. I think for like 500, 400, you get a couple acres too. Not a lot, but considering what you're getting in California, that's not so bad. I wouldn't really, I don't know, that's more of a homestead than a full-on breeding project. If we're talking like real land, um, if you want to stay in the Northwest, maybe Washington, it gets pretty cold there though. And there's spots that get really dry. So that's just only going to get more dry as the coming years really settle in. Yeah.
Because there's a live seed bank in Canada,
Yeah.
and many years ago I was looking into this, and it's quite interesting because what they do is they try to breed the varieties so they can change with the climate, and adapt. And they were criticizing the seed vaults they're doing around the world for
Yeah.
not doing
They're just
for not
hoarding.
doing yeah, just hoarding it
They're not doing
and not
anything with the
preparing it
genetics.
and at that point, it's like if the climate change enough when they start taking it out, you could be looking at a really long time range where you have to figure out what's going to be working now. And
Yeah.
that's what the that's like, I think it's what's interesting with doing like big breeding projects in land areas where you can try to find stuff that's going to work there better. Because for me, I think like if you're going to be really honest, uh, I think the breeding of the future, have to be much more adapted to the climate.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's changing too fast and like aggressive. Each year is way more aggressively intense than the last. Maybe not for every single region at the same time, but if you look at it from a global, like, get like stop paying attention to what's just around you and go branch out, look globally, what's going on. Because, oh, okay, it was a little more rainy this year for California. Not that big of a deal for us. Other places are getting floods. Other places are getting droughts. Other places are getting like heat waves. It's getting in the triple digits of Fahrenheit where it never was before. So
And you can
things,
imagine the food desert, you know, you're going to be getting when those effects start to come into play, and all
oh
the
yeah,
crops that we have now that have been selected with enough water suddenly are not able to make it, you know, because you're going to be having a completely different situation with the temperature around you and then supplying the water to fix it, you know. So
So the conspiracy theory then is that Big Seed have already thought of this problem and have lots of stock ready to go because they can just tweak the genetics at a whimsy and get what they want. A drought resistant, because they've already developed drought resistant crops for Africa. So they're just now
oh
selling to a
wow,
different market.
yeah.
really?
Yeah, yeah. There's
Shit.
definitely strains of crops that are work well in it. You know, the very
Well,
You
if we're
think they're
African.
going to be able to do that in the future into like apple trees and anything? Uh,
Hey, what do you think I said? um, they don't necessarily snip and chop, but they've definitely developed these strains of
yeah.
different crops for different regions. There's just the
So with
logic
time it
change.
could be done.
I
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
actually
yeah.
gotta jump off, guys. It was
All
good
right, dude.
talking to you. I wish I would have seen it earlier. I would have jumped in earlier on my lunch. But yeah, I'm working right now. It's good catching up with you guys.
You too.
Yeah,
Yeah, all good.
definitely gonna try to jump on again in 2 weeks.
Yep,
Keep it regular. Yeah,
that's
cheers,
the
guys.
idea. All right, dude. Catch you later.
Cool. Have
Have
a
a good
good
one.
day.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, Pete. That's a really good one. Because you can imagine seeing all the crops fail, and then they're like, we can fix it, but you have to go GMO,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
copyright, and look on the leaf, it has my company name.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, if you go up with a helicopter and take a picture, it spells out our company name. It
Yeah. Oh,
organizes
fuck.
itself in such a way that
Yeah, no,
you know.
that'd be a good move to get in that position for sure.
Yeah,
And especially when nobody's, or probably some people doing it, but it's not like the main focus of every breeding project is to place it in a location that's going to be good for the next 50 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, well,
You think UK could drown if the ice melted?
no.
No? How tall is it?
I mean, I might have a waterfront apartment by the time it's done. Yeah, that used to cost
Because
a
I think
fortune.
Denmark probably be underwater with enough
Uh,
sea level rising.
it's a bunch of other places that are going long before that happens.
Yeah, no, probably right. I'm no
Holland.
expert on water
Holland's
levels
already
and
below the water level, a large chunk of it. It's like, okay. So that rises another however much. That's the first place that's gone.
yeah, so we probably should be breeding some water barriers.
Aquatic resistant, saltwater resistant weed.
Yeah.
I've been playing around a bit more with that visualization stuff, just trying to make it more well, I say more interesting, yeah, easier to use, more interesting. Being able to identify different things at different. Let me share. I got a whole lot of images taken at different times of day. I've just broken this down into. So what's this? This is the 28th of 8:30. But let's go back a bit. Now you can see. So this is the 18th. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So you can make out where bud sites are starting to form, which is really interesting. I mean, well, not that it's interesting. I mean, you can see it with naked eye as well, but it's very clear. Let's be honest, there's something not quite right with this one. Its amount of green isn't quite the same as the one on the right. And what we're aiming for is everything to be this bright green. Jump forward. 4 days. And the bud sites are way more pronounced all of a sudden as they're developing. So you can actually track like how your bud sites are developing, because you just get this really great contrast between the fact that this is not photosynthesizing part of the plant. And again, you can see the one on the right, much richer green, indicating, oh yeah, sorry, I should mention that this is a plant health index. The green
How green they are.
greener they are, the healthier they are. And they're
Yeah.
photosynthesizing at an optimal rate.
So the less dark spots on the leaves.
Yeah, the bright green is what you're interested in. So
Yeah.
you can see the stuff on the left.
No
this is
shade, ideally.
tip burn. Yeah, you don't want anything looking below this bright green ideally. It goes between, let me close this down here. So red's in the middle, blue's the far end. Red would still probably be some kind of organic material, but it's down to how much near infrared it's absorbing. And
Yeah.
plants under stress, etc., absorb the near infrared. But it's just better visualization than the ones I used last week, and it makes it really clear. And this, from what I understand, this one was not doing as well as the one on the right, and you can see it. But if you just looked at the two, it's a little bit tricky to tell. But it does even detect where there's been some tip burn, because that's just absorbing infrared. So you can actually probably, using this, you'd be able to detect fairly quickly your nutrient or whatever is potentially off, lights are too low.
And do you use gypsum as a nutrient corrector?
No.
No?
Not for my chilies, no. And then on the 28th again. And this is at 8:30. So from what I've been told, the lights have been on for 2.5 hours at this point.
That's more similar.
Yeah, they are. And if we go, that was the 28th. So this has been nearly been on.
So
20
could
hours
you,
almost, and you can see the one on the left after, by the end of the day, it's definitely looking like it's not quite as happy as the one on the right, and that's also not looking overly well. It's just fine, but it's not looking.
so can you track it to the frequency of the watering?
Yeah, if you were recording the watering, I mean, this is capturing an image every 10 minutes, so I'm told. You could then definitely link it to watering,
Different events.
temperature and humidity data as well, time
Yeah.
of day, any kind of activity. If you kept the log of it, then it would track it, and you'd have the images to go with it.
So it could be a good way to track when you should do different things for crop steering.
Yeah, certainly. Just, but this is, yeah.
And do you think that you could, let's say, use it so you stress it a little bit and it gets a little bit darker, and then you turn it back to green and use that as like
you could use that way of tracking like stress cycles on the plant.
Yeah. But to use the stress as an advantage.
You could definitely identify, you could maybe quantify that the plant was still stressed while you did your experiment. And this is just another story like index that tries to work out all the vegetative green. So stuff is green and reflecting it, but
so you can use it good for, like, let's say you have the temperature dialed in but you want to check out the water frequency in small amounts, and you can easily do that then with this probably
Yes.
to find like the optimum timing for
Yeah, because you could work out,
different life phases.
and at the same time, you can also tell when you need to back off because you can see just how stressed it's actually getting. You can have
Yeah.
an objective view of it. So that's the other.
Yeah, but you could probably also track the amount you give it to how long it would last until it changed back, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And you could deliberately, and the experiment really is to have a bunch of plants growing uniformly, and then you deliberately stress them with certain things and track to see what the signature is of that type of stress. So
Yeah, no, it'd be really cool to see it with like the Trollmaster Hydro. Have you seen the guy Shark Mouse?
yeah.
You should send him a minder and see if he could incorporate it in his to verify results.
Yeah, I'd rather other people capture that data. This is easier to do. Don't
Yeah, no, but it would be interesting to see how it would like how on point the crop steering was, and if it would let you know yes or no, you know.
Yeah, you do have to do a few runs to be able to establish the correlation of what you were seeing with what was going on. And that's why it would be. I would like to do that experiment of grow exactly. You take cuts of the same thing under the same
Yeah,
light
it'd be cool.
conditions, and you just give them. You have 3 different plants, and you just deliberately. It all has to be done hydroponically, I guess. And you no nitrogen, starve it of nitrogen, see what the signature looks like. Too much nitrogen, and then you start to get the scale, and then you can combine all of it when you then look and go, okay, I can tell you that plant has a lack of nitrogen in it at a 80% certainty. So for yeah, excuse me. And that way you can tell when you're running your experiments, you can work out how it's being stressed. What is it actually doing?
And it'd be interesting to see like when you think it's on point and you see, and you look at it and you think, oh, it's good, and then if it's telling you something different, you know, if you can realize small mistakes that you might not be aware of.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's definitely going to be a lot more. As I mentioned the last show. There's definitely going to be a lot more of this kind of stuff. It's consumer grade tech. Okay, you need to do a little bit of coding, but
Yeah, and it's interesting now because you know with the AC Infinity and Trollmaster controller and all the possibilities that everybody has with all the new really easy to use controllers, I think this is going to be much more relevant as a way to be able to work with.
yeah, I don't understand why. Hang on a second, man. I have to type and think at the same time. It's not working too well at the moment. Well, let me just answer. Actually, let's answer to Perpetual's question. Is it working towards a product, or can anyone get a camera, remove filter, and anybody can actually just go and get a camera. You don't have to remove the filter. You can buy the Raspberry Pi Noir in a no IR camera that doesn't have the filter in place. You don't necessarily have to remove it, and all relatively inexpensive.
And people can buy the minder too still?
No, I'm not selling it anymore.
You aren't?
No.
Ah, it's back on the research block.
Yeah. The back end service, and that's more on the research block to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
Economically and add some more bits to it. It just became financially unfeasible to keep it going. Um, but anyway, that's a different story. But with this, you can just go out and you can go and buy it, and then write the code, and it's not particularly difficult code. But like all these things, it's what do you do with the data? And I see this something like, I don't know why lighting companies don't have it fitted.
So could you
And
put
to me, it makes sense if a
the
lighting company
link in the video description for like camera of this type and a Raspberry Pi so people could find it?
for the
And then in the future we could do a collective connection of one. Do a live upload of the code and everything.
Yeah, can show it. I mean, it's all doing using off-the-shelf stuff. That's all the code to capture it. That, yeah. But in terms of what you want to do for doing the image analysis, that's I mean, I could put that in a repo if I wanted to, repository, and anybody can have a look.
Yeah, no, I'm
There's
sure
no
many people
particular
would like
special
that
to it.
because it's not like it might be rocket science for some and not for others,
Yeah, I can definitely put I can upload the code to a GitHub repository, and next time let me know, or I'll add it into the description of this video a bit later on.
Yeah, no, that'd be really cool.
And then people can download the software that does the image analysis is the software that people can download that I'll put up. You still need to
So
charge
everybody
$10
don't go and start downloading and buying in cameras that aren't for the right thing.
Um,
Short tutorial with Pete.
so can I just get the shortest link to the product as possible? This chat disappeared too.
So what's the best hot sauce in the UK?
Best hot sauce in the UK is the one I make.
Nice. Okay.
Actually, I've just been experimenting with chili jam.
We actually have a really good small batch chili company here on the island.
Nice.
Yeah, it's called Malpais something.
I do like that Cholula hot sauce. I will say that's a nice, it's actually kind of hot sauce, but yeah, also.
And you like Nando's also?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I used to actually make hot sauce and sell it. It's to do
You did?
training at the when I worked at Morgan Stanley, I used to sell it to all the traders on the trading floor. That was good fun because they're like so bravado. That's like, how hard can you make it? Go make. They'd ask stupid questions.
Yeah, no, that's how the one hot sauce I have is with the Carolina Reaper. Even the full drop is too much.
I've got pure capsicum crystals, which are what, like 16 million Scoville units or something underneath.
Crystals.
Yeah.
And are they clear?
No, they're little white crystals. I mean, you could really mess someone's party up.
And you think people could snort it?
You wouldn't want to, dude.
Crush it and snort it.
Oh, you could, but you really wouldn't want to.
Yeah, no, I read that some kid in the States had the hot chip challenge and died.
Probably something else that killed them. The chili itself wouldn't kill you. I mean, maybe the shock of how hot it was. I mean, 16 million Scoville units is as hot as it goes. It doesn't go any hotter than that.
Yeah, no,
When I
seems
used to make
strange,
my
huh?
sauce, I'd make a big pot of it and just put one little crystal in. That would take it from mild, which was still hot, to ooh, that's got a nice burn. And you put another one in. It's like, huh, okay. You really start to feel it now.
How do they make that?
They just make it from a pepper extract. I mean, it takes
Okay.
you can't buy it anymore. This was years ago. So I've got the blades. I had the 6 a.m. and the.
So maybe they do it like they do the THC crystals.
I know it takes me 10 pounds of chilies to make 1 gram of the hottest peppers they've got, because you're just after the capsaicin. So that's the only thing you're interested in trying to get out of them. So the hotter the pepper, the better. You're not getting any flavor or anything else. It's just pure heat.
And are they using a solvent?
I'm not too sure how they did it.
It's really interesting. I've been. You remember the hash I mentioned for you?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a theory that I don't think the original maybe is made like this, but to me it almost seemed like it could have been done with almost like a solvent, like butane or something, to get the ice water hash to change consistency and to kind of separate the terp layer. Because I've seen some of the so-called Piatella that they have been trying here in Spain, and like it's not from like the original company in Barcelona, but it leaves like a little black residue more than maybe BHO would, and sometimes you get like a small crackle with the flame on the glass, and to me that's like a little bit giveaway about the butane. Because I don't think you get much oxidation, when you chill it in butane and let it separate like they do with like the THCA crystals. And then you just have a vent, to make sure the pressure doesn't build up too much.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it's probably not the way to do it, but it'd be interesting if people tried it on some water hash. They collected some 990 and see if it changed consistency and separated. Because I haven't heard anyone talk about it being a solvent involved, it's but at the same time nobody's saying it's a non-solvent.
Cannot confirm or deny.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, it's just funny because I used to do a lot of BHO for many years, a long time ago, and still do a little bit, small batch for self-consumption, but it was just an idea that struck, because it seems like a very easy way to change the consistency of some water hash, and when they can make like these fucking huge crystals and separate terps, might be able to do something with the water hash too.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that there must be some solvent used at some point.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be butane, but it'd
Yeah.
be like the most easily available one.
And possibly, and fractional distillation to get it just to be the capsaicin as being all that you're interested in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, that's
something you wanted to play around with.
You need heavy equipment for that, I think. Or skills. Do you know how to do fractional distillation?
Well, you just need a column and I'd say you just need it's not that complicated. That's the beauty about it.
It's
Things
just
come
different
off at
levels.
specific temperatures, things come off at specific temperatures. And then you just need a condenser that you control the temperature in. So you just have the condensing column. You get the base liquid up to, you know, what temperature does this terpene come off at? So you just work your way through knowing
So it's
what
similar
temperature you're
to gas
sitting at and just-
chromatography.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Pretty similar. You just know that, okay, you know, fractional distillation is these things just come off at specific temperatures. And so as long as you keep it at that temperature, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see some. So that's how they can, you know, off a batch that they take, then they then get all the terpenes off, and they can actually go through the temperature scale and know what they're getting just based on the temperature that they're running it at. You do get more and more expensive equipment with rotating bits and where you can just.
Do you think
neatly-
you could do that to water hash, to dissolve it and put it back together with fractional distillation?
But it has to be a. You would just all the THC and you. How much hash do you have? You need to fill quite a. I'd say that's usually what it is. Quite a bit of liquid, at least, that they are boiling off.
Yeah,
or
like
heating
say
up.
you had a few kilos at least.
You would just break it down into its component parts. You wouldn't necessarily
think-
get crystals at the end. So you would get,
Yeah.
yeah, as you went through the temperature scale, unless you just combined it all again at the other end.
You think you could do like almost like a cure and take out unwanted elements and put it back together?
Yeah, if you were very specific about how you were collecting the samples, you could then say, well, I don't want this note in it, and just not put it back in.
Yeah.
And make a.
They do that on the
catch is
whiskey?
It's not going to form into. Yeah, I guess your best option is does it make crystals, but then the thing is it's not just one crystal. A crystal is just one element. Well, yeah, sodium chloride, yeah, it's a talk about correct. But it's not like all the terpenes as well in that crystal. Do you get what I'm saying? Whereas
Yeah, so it's just that. Just
It's
like
just whatever
THC crystal, and the terpenes are separated.
So what's making, you know, what you're after is the blend. That's more interesting, is I can take this thing, split it
But
up
do you
into all
think
of
that you
its
could
component
do like
bits.
jar tech for making chili crystals? Do you know what jar tech is?
I mean, I guess you could try it. I don't know how much. I mean, you think the amount of capsaicin. I mean, literally, it takes pounds of peppers to make a couple
No,
of
but I guess you
grams
would
of
have
these
to
things.
have like at that point you already have the extract, and then you just
Yeah, but it's just
cold cure it, I guess, to try to separate it.
the point I'm making is just to get to that, have the extract to play with.
Yeah.
It's pounds and pounds of peppers.
Have
to
to
get
go
to that
down to
point.
your local Indian market.
Yeah. That's it. Or you specifically got to find the hottest ones. I mean, I guess that would be the difference with.
You
You'd
just order a
see the difference
big
when you're
bag.
doing fractional distillation. Like, okay, look how much THC came off this one compared to the one next to it. I mean, you actually have. This
Don't
is
know,
how
be
much
interesting
came
to see. Pete making crystals tonight.
off.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Be interesting to see how little you would need to make it.
I
Or how
think you'd be
much.
more like horrified as to how much. As if I remember what they said, it was either 10 pounds or 100 pounds of peppers to make 1
But do
gram
they
of.
extract it out of it or do they process it into it?
that was the input into the overall process to make 1 gram of crystals.
So it's like an extract of the extract.
Yeah, so the raw peppers are processed down to an extract, then that's run through and processed again to get it down to just the capsaicin.
So you don't think that they process it and the capsaicin crystallizes out?
No. Well, I mean, it does eventually, but not from. There's definitely more to it than
It's
it
not
just
like a
coming out of
natural
solutions like
separation.
that. No, yeah, it doesn't just naturally separate. That's the way I don't believe. So it needs to be processed a bit further. And I
Maybe you
suspect
could
that's probably where the
throw
fractional
it in the
distillation comes
rosin press.
in. Stick it in the peppers.
Yeah.
That'll make the next person who uses the rosin press unimpressed. Boom.
Yeah, or do a hot dab from the rosin press with some chili sauce. Chili extract. That's the next challenge.
Just put your
And rub
pepper
it
in
and
here.
rub it in your eye. Rub it in the eye.
Um, look at Hillbilly Verb. Yeah, actually they've just announced the Raspberry Pi 5 is coming out, so I suspect they must have sorted out some of their supply chain issues and they should be back on the market. In fact, they're available on their site, which is interesting because usually that's the first place that sells out.
So
So that last link I provided is actually to the little Raspberry Pi Zero with Wi-Fi, and that's what I run the little camera in, some extra software that then it just does image capture every 10 minutes. But even that you can write your own. I mean, I think that's one of the example bits of code they give you on the Raspberry Pi, or like the most basic tutorial they show is how to capture an image from the camera. And then the other piece of software is just okay, how to process that image, which that's the bit I can put up on GitHub. The other piece I can give links to.
and is Raspberry
The
Pi
other GitHub
also with 3G?
Not built into it, no, but you can go and get a module that will do 3G on it.
Yeah.
But natively, no, it doesn't have 3G support
Okay.
built into it.
So you have to connect it.
It's a compute board,
Yeah.
single board computer, SCB,
Okay.
SBC, single board computer.
You
But
need
they're
to
becoming
install it into
incredibly
something?
powerful. Hey?
Do you install it into something or?
Yeah, you get little housings that you can put it in.
Okay.
So you don't just have the bare circuit board out. In fact,
Just like a small pocket computer.
I mean, this is a small. I mean, it's tiny. This one is really small, and I use a case like this one, but it's the camera case. It's got a hole in the front where the camera pokes out.
Oh.
And that slot, that ribbon slot over there, is where you plug the camera in, and it just sits just above this piece here. Some memory card plugged in there, and literally, you're not asking it to do anything particularly heavy going or hardcore. It's not the smartest or smart out the code. It's not the heaviest compute power. So this just does image capture. It doesn't do any of the other stuff. That's all run
And
locally on the PC.
you need to be soldering or no?
No soldering required at all.
And screws?
And if you want to, actually, I don't even think you need to in that case. No, it's all just clip, done. Plug in some power, connect it to your Wi-Fi, away you go.
Nice.
In fact, you have to
And
configure it for your Wi-Fi before you turn it on. You put that onto the
and the
memory card,
camera you
stick it in.
connect with the cable.
Yeah, just a little flat ribbon cable.
Okay.
So, and you can, it gets really interesting when you take, you have two of them working together. One that's taking a normal image that doesn't have the infrared left in, it has the infrared filtered out, and one that's having it the Noir camera, the infrared, no infrared filter camera. So the ones that I'm using for doing image analysis, because you can then do some interesting overlay stuff for the two, and you certainly capture a bit more information that you sort of missing because you don't have like a high-end multispectral camera, but it's negligible stuff. That's why there's specific formulas designed for using these sorts of cameras. But in the, so it's got a ribbon cable like, there we go. It's almost kind of, there's a ribbon cable like that that connects it together.
Hmm.
That's it there.
Okay.
But it's just got a shorter one that it comes with, that the camera comes with. So it just folds over inside.
So you plug the camera to that.
Yep, and it all fits inside the case. And you can get
Okay.
more advanced cameras or better cameras. But for this purpose, you definitely want the no infrared filter camera. And
Yeah.
then they do.
And when you do two, do you do separate boards and cameras with separate coding and separate cases, or you do it on one? No, so
it would be
separate.
two on these little Raspberry Pi Zero boards. It's one camera per board.
Yeah.
If you shop around for the Raspberry Pi Zero boards, you can pick those things up for. Well, when I was buying a bunch of them, they were only like £5 or something like that each. They weren't much. I think the price has gone up, but so they have, and then they do lenses, different lenses for the cameras as well, and little stands. I mean, if you wanted to do other things with it, connect the camera to a bigger Raspberry Pi that can also do the image capture and the processing. So they even do special little ones designed for the Raspberry Pi Zero. Okay, that's new. That wasn't around when I last looked.
With the casing, no?
Oh no, that's just the packaging. But
Okay.
so that's the little camera. That's it, it connects in there, and away you go.
And you just have it like that open, or is it inside
No,
something?
it fits inside a case. I'm trying to see where they've got their cases. Here we go. So this is, there we go. The camera case just has a little hole in it, and the camera just pokes out through there.
Nice.
So that's dimensionally like that. It's about the height of a credit card and narrower than the width of a credit card.
And can you put the battery inside there? And
no, it takes power from outside, but you could connect it up to a battery pack, I guess. But it does need external power.
Yeah.
It's not it's low voltage, but it's not that low voltage.
And they don't sell battery packs on there.
You can get battery packs that you could attach to it, but it's an always-on device. So ideally, you want it to actually be connected to a USB-C. I think is what these run these days. It's either USB-C
So
or USB-C.
solar would be easy.
Yeah, it's USB-C. By the looks of it.
Yeah.
So that's its power source. That it uses a standard adapter that you can get pretty much anywhere. And it's this is the low power one compared to the higher board. So most adapters work fine with these.
And then that's going to broadcast to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's got Wi-Fi in it, so it'll connect to your Wi-Fi network, and that's how you connect to it and extract data, etc.
And how is it for doing side readings?
Side readings?
Yeah, not from above.
But yeah, I mean, you don't see stuff way off in the distance because that's what whatever it can see. The advantage from above is, for this usage, obviously, you're looking at the canopy, you're getting an understanding of a very wide area very quickly. But you can.
Well, have you tried it from the side?
Are
you able to see enough from the side to get a good visual
Yeah, you could put a
impression.
fisheye lens on it, for example, as well. And that could, if it was close quarters, but otherwise, yeah, you could put in from the side. It's just not going to see very much in terms of depth into. Stuff will be hidden fairly quickly. It's only the first
Yeah.
plant that's really in front of it that it's going to see. It's not going to see anything
Yeah.
beyond it. That's the catch.
Because you don't think you would see like a change from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom?
You could do, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you might want to have them mounted at 45 degrees looking down at an angle at them so that you can at least see beyond the first row.
Because maybe there would be like a point where you would see the signs first, and that could also be something that would be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the trick is in this whole, I mean, like doing it with images and then training it, that's the piece that's
Because the
interesting
infrared
is
is
how do you
still arriving on the side as much as on the front. It's bouncing, no?
Yeah, and it's a measure of how much is being reflected back.
Yeah. So it wouldn't change that it's not coming from above the source of the light.
No, it might mess with that. It's getting direct, depending on what the light source is that the camera starts to get direct infrared shone at it, as opposed to measuring the reflectance. It gets, washed out by the source of the infrared rather than it looking at a reflection of the source of the infrared. If you point the camera at the sun, you're only getting the sun all of a sudden. You're not getting anything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I haven't thought about putting it on the side. If you defoliate, you can see through the leaves. Spot the stuff at the bottom.
Yeah, or it'd be interesting if it suddenly started to have changes that
And I think
could
for
track.
less dense crops, maybe it also that'd be particularly useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, in orchards, looking down over an orchard, you see something's attacking from below. That's where the first bit of stress will start, as an example.
Yeah, no, with insects too. Do you see? Have you seen or recorded insect attacks with the camera to see how they develop
No, I
on the plant?
haven't. But I have seen it show up. Like powdery mildew, not an insect attack, but powdery mildew fairly quickly.
And have you tried different treatments on the powdery mildew?
I didn't know.
It'd be interesting to see how heat treatment compares to using milk.
You could certainly see if it was effective, whatever you did. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be really cool.
Because the powdery mildew just changes the signature of what's getting reflected. You can't see it with the naked eye. And that's one of the things.
Because I've used both heat treatment and organic milk sprayed on the plants for PM, and both's been fine, But I think the question is really what is the most effective and what works the best.
And it's also fascinating to watch plants when they're drying, how long they keep photosynthesizing for.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need a light source, but it is interesting to watch just how long it carries on for. It doesn't stop.
And can you relate that to the humidity in the soil?
You could do if you had a moisture meter, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like when you harvest it, if you then when you chop it down, if you have light still on, and watch it now continue to
You see how long it
photosynthesize
stays on after.
as it dries out. For
It'd be
purposes of
interesting if
drying.
you could. Be interesting if you could quantify something out of how long it stays fresh after you cut it until it starts to fade.
Yeah.
And
You
if
can look at the
there's
whole
a
thing and go,
quality,
everything is now dead. It has stopped.
Yeah.
Probably give you an idea of when certain other processes are kicking in, because if the
Yeah.
photosynthesis is now ground to a halt, the next stage kicks in.
Yeah.
So that could get quite interesting. Quite a lot of
Yeah, it'll
potential
be a
there.
cool video to see.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of it though. That's
Maybe you can get people to give you like plants with different contaminations on them, so you can record how they evolve.
I mean, what really would be easier is if what would be kind of cool though would be if you get a bunch of people with the same kit running the same code and just monitoring, because that's all it comes down to. You just need a re-recording. Sending a sample doesn't really work because the plant material is no longer living that you sent it on. And I'm not going to spend time trying to infect plants. The thing is when the system, when you're using it and you look at it, you go, oh, something's different. You then go and have a look and make a note of what was different. The next time it goes, hey, I think this is what's different. And it tells you. And the more people you have who are capturing and recording the information, the quicker and better it gets at doing it across a broader spectrum of things.
And it feels like it's like a bullshit barometer too, you know, because it tells more than the eye can see.
Yeah, it can sense it along with what you can. But so long as it's
Yeah.
also getting, when you combine it with all the other data sources, like, not just the environmental data that you captured from within the grow environment, let's say, but you also the local weather data. What
Yeah,
actually,
or the
was it raining
soil.
outside all day long? What were all these inputs that essentially affect the environment that you're monitoring? And believe it or not, it's really interesting to watch how a grow room reacts to the weather outside.
You know, and the moon cycle will be interesting too,
Yeah, you could track all of those bits.
because
Except
it's
if you're growing
I think
outdoors, I
it's
guess it
full,
might
should
make
be
a
full
difference.
moon now. It was yesterday.
But you just, it's capturing all those additional data points to go with the image analysis.
Yeah.
Because they're explaining what you're, they're the inputs into essentially what you're viewing. But there'll be another time-lapse video of this coming out soon. So the next month of growth, I believe they're sending through. So I'll process that into a time-lapse, which will show. It's fun to see how quickly at certain points it just kicks and then it'll slow down again and it'll suddenly kick again as it moves through different stages.
Yeah, and it'd be fun to see, like you said too, when you cut it off and how long it used to shut down.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we can probably hour and a half. I think we can probably call it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for jumping in.
And big up to the crowd for hanging out.
Yeah. I know it's a bit of a ramble. So I think just we're going to be every 2 weeks, and then eventually when Grow Room 420 show comes back, the idea is we'll just alternate weeks. But yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time.
Sweet.
Hopefully we have something more interesting by then. I'll also make sure I put in the description somewhere for this video, I'll upload the GitHub data, the GitHub code, and I'll put point to that.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool, and a few links to where people can buy the different things they need to get connect together.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, dude.
Cool.
That was good. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, as they say.